Hi, I'm Blythe Stevens of A Blythe Coach, dance and yoga education and coaching to move through life with balance, grace, and power. And today's theme, it has to do with gliding in dance, but also in yoga. The quality of gliding combines like a focused concentration and like a directness with total ease, right? It's like gliding through the air or across the water or across ice. There's like this lack of resistance or stickiness, which is sort of analogous to sort of the mind in meditation, right? Where things come and then they just sort of slip away. There's also anatomical connection too, because many of our joints glide across one another too, in the fingers and in the toes and in the articulation of the vertebrae. They're sort of sliding against one another. And of course, when that's not happening, in the case of like arthritis or other sorts of things, there becomes like a resistance there. So, and actually yoga helps with that to facilitate a quality of sort of slipperiness. So it's kind of like water coming off a duck's back. You're in the water, but then we can shake it all off. Seated and close our eyes. And just bring that attention to the breath, connecting with the floor beneath, our seat, allowing the vertebrae to stack one on top of the next to provide as effortless a posture as we can find. And then noticing the breath flowing automatically in and out through the nose. And we can keep the eyes closed or flutter them open if that's more comfortable. And we'll just add the arm movements to the breath. So as we inhale, we'll bring that fullness to the side body, into the arms floating up, and then letting everything sink and settle down as we exhale. We've got our wings. If you like that image, we've got our wings and the wind underneath the feathers buoying us up. And then like a feather, it just softly drifts back down, gently coming back into contact with the earth. And one more inhale. Bring the arms up and then into a gentle twist. So just crossing right arm across the center line. It can grasp the knee. And as we exhale, wringing out the middle of the body. And inhale, the arms come up. And with the next exhale, twisting left hand to the right knee. One more cycle like this, to the left and to the right. Following the pace of your own breath, and then we'll meet in the center. And softly release the hands down. Another joint that has this gliding interface is where our clavicle, where our arm meets the body. And to some extent, our shoulder blade also kind of floats and glides. So we're going to take some shoulder circles. You can add the elbow and add the arm, or just move the shoulders, whatever feels good. And just become aware of a smooth gliding quality. So we're not forcing. I notice my tendency here is as I notice tension, I want to work it out, want to sort of push into that place and make it adjust or click or release. And that's fine. But today we're going to try to go a little less forcefully through our range of motion. So very respectful of wherever there are stuck places, sort of trying to glide on past them. And then allow the shoulders to completely release very heavily towards the ground. And in the same way, slowly, mindfully, gently circling the head on top of the neck. And then we'll reverse that circle as well. Yeah. I'll remove the cushion from underneath myself as we come to all fours, gliding forward onto both hands and both knees and the tops of both feet as we connect with the surface below, creating space between the joints, or not the joints, but between the fingers, spreading them wide, maybe the toes wide as well. For a couple rounds of cat-cow, we'll inhale, opening the chest, lifting head and tail, exhale, releasing head and tail towards the floor. On our next inhale, we'll become aware of the space between the crown of the head and the tail, coming back to neutral. And I'm going to tuck the toes under behind me. One and then other, and come to the most easeful plank position I can find. So by elongating from the crown of the head through the heels, I'll keep the breathing flowing, floating between the shoulder blades. And then either coming through the knees and then the chest and the chin and down, or through chaturanga if you're ready for that. We'll draw the elbows back. They'll slide along our sides like little grasshopper wings, releasing us down onto the belly. And the feet flat onto the floor and the forehead releases. So a lot of flight and gliding imagery today. So along those lines, we'll reach the arms long out in front of us and do a little flying here, strengthening the back body and of course the core. So first step is to draw our belly button up towards the spine. And then lift slowly the left leg and right arm up, and then float them both down. And then with the inhale, lifting the left arm and right leg, and releasing them both down onto the floor also. And one more time, right. Feeling length from fingertips to toe tips, no crunching. No particular shape we're trying to produce, just length and lightness. from the center. And then we'll bring both arms and both legs. Here's our Superman or our full flying creature, airplane. Flying squirrel is what I like to think about it. And release both arms and both legs back down onto the floor. Hands coming underneath the shoulders, tucking the toes under in the back, passing through plank position on our way to downward dog. And then massage your downward dog, trying to find the ease in this position. We're all sort of on our own journey with that day by day. But we'll plant the palms of the hands nice and flat and the balls of the feet as well. Heels seeking the floor, whether or not they are fully planted is inconsequential. And then lifting up from the sits bones, from the tailbone, from the pelvis, up towards the sky. It's almost as if the head and the arms are dangling in this position. I'm really excited for the day we can do a little partner assist yoga one of these days. But until then, we imagine that there is someone helping and lifting up from perhaps the thighs or from the pelvis, like a nice reliable partner helping support this pose, pulling the weight up out of the wrists and out of the shoulders. The head is nice and easy. And then we'll add the right leg, reaching it long across the floor to stretch up to our three-legged dog. And then drawing knee into nose directly through the center line, we'll curl into a little ball coming forward. And then again, reaching up into our three-legged dog with the inhale. Let's draw that right knee up around the side, little rond de jambe to the right elbow. And then reaching it back and up. This is our little three-part. So now the right knee will cross over to the left elbow. Say hi. Maybe connect the two physically or not. Then reach that leg up. And then let's open the hips. So just enjoy a stretch for a moment in our three-legged dog, our sort of inverted splits. We can bend that right knee and gaze at the toe underneath our left armpit, get a little bit more openness in the hip and thigh, even in the lower back, wherever we feel it. And then draw that knee in towards the chest one more time, and we'll actually step it forward between the hands. So right foot steps forward or bring it forward into a lunge, and gently set that left knee back down onto the floor, and the left, you can keep the left toes tucked or bring them down, whatever feels most comfortable. And we'll fly up into a crescent lunge. So with the inhale, arms coming overhead. With the exhale, we'll sort of leave a space hold with our arms and head up there, and then sink down with the pelvis, creating more space and length between those 2 points, just like a beautiful crescent moon. Then float the hands back down to the floor. Tuck the back toes under if they're not already. And we can go through a vinyasa flow here if you like, or just meet me back in downward facing dog again, depending on what feels easeful to you today. So establishing that downward dog again to our liking. And then easily floating the left foot up, back behind us, and experiencing the space between that foot, airborne, and our hands way out in front of us, pressing. Then with the next exhale, Knee comes directly into the chest or the nose. And inhale, we'll bring the left leg back. And then to the left elbow, a little bit of flight here, foreshadowing our crow pose to come. Inhale to rise. Exhale to cross the knee over to the right elbow. Inhaling to rise. And then we draw that knee in and step forward into this side of our lunge. Softly floating like a feather, that back knee and foot to the floor. And then with length, bringing the upper body over our lunge. And then sinking with the lower body, rising with the upper body. A very floaty, well-supported stretch. And then the hands will drift back down to the floor. And once more, we'll step back into downward dog or flow through chaturanga as if we're a helicopter landing. Inhaling to a cobra or upward facing dog. And exhaling to downward dog. Again. Now we'll look forward between the hands and mosey our way with small steps to bring the feet in between the hands to a standing forward fold. Yeah. Taking a look at the feet, spreading the toes out on the ground, having that nice golden triangle of support between the big toe, little toe, and heel. We'll inhale to a halfway lift, sort of hovering here again. The long back, and then exhale into our deep forward fold. Inhaling to roll all the way up to standing. Gliding through each articulation of the spine, and then the arms, and the legs nice and long. Hands meeting, palms, the hands come together at the heart center. And inhale, we'll draw the arms up together overhead. And then swan dive, gliding like a swan into our forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bringing the hands back to the floor. And then I want us to slowly bring the right foot back. So we're going to our lunge position, but as slowly and easily, lightly, and quietly as we can. So we're passing through almost this warrior three position of floating, and then softly setting the right foot back. And then with our inhale, lifting the belly off the thigh, and then rolling up to our high lunge now. And then we'll establish the pelvis sort of neutral, maybe bend the back knee to find that ease and elongation through the spine. Sort of relaxed. And then inhale. And we'll open to our warrior two. Right foot coming flat at the 45-degree angle, especially that outer edge, the little toe edge of the foot connecting to the floor. And then opening the arms front and back. Our warrior two is a nice powerful position in the legs, but in the upper body, hopefully feels sort of light, easy and gliding. So shoulders released, stretching from front fingertips to the back fingertips, from tail to crown of the head. And then we'll go through a couple breath cycles with the inhale, reclining into our peaceful warrior and adding an arm circle. So we have our shoulder blade gliding across the back. And then leaning forward with the exhale. And then the top arm circling and bringing us up. Inhale, leaning back to circle. And exhale, leaning forward to circle. Then inhaling, returning to our warrior two. And either going free flying or adding a block. I'm going to demonstrate how I would do that. I love to do that, especially the first round. We'll bring the left hand a little bit in front and to the left of our foot, and then come into our half moon pose. So actually, I might even take the block up onto this edge. So I'm establishing that standing leg, left leg, nice and firmly on the ground. I can take my right hand and open up through my ribs, sort of smear that hand across the ribs, and then ultimately I will fly that right hand up towards the sky. So again, this is like our, almost like an ice skating shape, actually. I think they do. Glide across the ice on one foot in this way. Opening up through the chest, through the back, reaching that back foot long through the air. Again, here we can be unsupported as well. You can even float that front hand off the floor if that feels okay. And then softly sinking through the front knee, or the knee that's supporting us, to gently rest that right foot back onto the floor into our warrior two briefly before we bring left hand and right hand to the floor again. And then stepping back through our chaturanga dandasana flow, or of course, you can always meet me in downward dog. And then we look between the hands, walk, or if you want to try this gliding flight, we can take a little hop or a spring to float the feet in between the hands. And inhale to halfway lift, elongating through the spine. Exhale to fold. Inhaling to roll all the way up to the top. And release. Inhale, exhale, forward fold. Hands come into contact with the floor, and now the left foot will slowly release from the floor, reach back behind us. We have a moment of flight here, and then softly settle that foot back onto the ground, lifting the belly and rib cage off of the front knee, and then rolling all the way up to our high lunge. Getting situated there with the neutral pelvis and length through the spine. And then opening wide to the side to our warrior two. Little toe, knife edge pressing into the floor. Right knee reaching over the middle toe or even the little toe. Gazing into the distance over our front fingertips. And with our inhale, up and back to our peaceful warrior, and an arm circle softly flowing into our exhale. Circling around, come up. And then with our next inhale, coming back to our warrior two. Reaching the right hand out to the side and forward a bit. Love having a block for this. You can also lean against a wall or take a chair too, if that's helpful. And then we'll shift slowly forward over the right leg. And then to we can keep that knee softly bent, of course, but extending to whatever degree feels right. And then we'll take that left hand and draw it across the right ribs, opening them up to the side. And then across the left ribs, and then flying up. Our leg might be parallel to the floor, it might not important, but sensing that length between the crown of the head and the left heel, and between our standing foot and the left hand in the air helps us feel that sense of flight, lightness. And then we bend the standing leg, softly sink the left foot back to the floor, and cartwheel right hand and left hand back to the floor into another vinyasa. Stepping the right foot back, take it through a flow as easily as we can. Bring as little effort as possible. And then sit back for a moment onto the heels with the knees together or wide, your preferred child's pose shape. And we'll just float on the breath for a moment here. So nice counter moment to all of the shapes we've been making so far. Roll ourselves slowly up to a seat. And then tuck the toes under, and I'll come to sort of a yogi squat. The shape of the squat is not important. We can bring the heels together and the knees to the side, or if the heels come down to the floor, awesome. The hands will come shoulder width apart and really nice and flat and broad through the palm of the hand. And then we'll come up with the pelvis, up onto the toes, trying to seat those knees in towards the armpit. If they fall in the tricep or the middle of the arm, that's totally fine too. But we're going to lean ourselves forward into whatever flavor of crow pose is in our practice right now. So maybe only one foot floats off the floor, maybe two. I have seen this demonstrated, actually, I'll show it because it's kind of fun. I've seen this demonstrated with a block, and this is kind of nice, as well as the starting point helps us get really nice and high with the pelvis, which is key for this. And then we're just sort of gazing a little bit in front of us. And not much change, actually, in my shape at all when I'm stepping off of that block. So that's kind of nice. I'm not trying to move my crow all around. I'm just focusing on a sensation of gliding in the air, like a crow or maybe even like a hawk or an eagle. Oh, imagine that effortless soaring sensation, the wind whizzing past us. And then release. Release those feet back down onto the floor. Rest. We can massage back and forth through the ankles and the feet. Release the wrists for a moment. If you want to give them a little massage, circle them out. Then last chance, or don't worry about it, return to child's pose. But we'll go into crow one more time just to see if, or what will happen this time. Just curious. Setting up the hands nice and stable. Knees coming up towards the armpit. Leaning far forward. And then soaring. Gliding. Flying. And then when you're ready, sitting the feet back down, we'll go ahead and walk the hands back behind us to sit. And then come into the middle of the mat. and then rolling slowly down also through the spine, vertebra for vertebra. Then drawing one knee and the other knee towards the chest, drawing those knees close to release the lower back, and then curling the head up towards the knees. And as I return, I'm going to shoot the left leg long on the floor and keep the right leg drawing in towards the chest. And massage the hip and the hip joint for a couple circles one direction and a couple circles the other direction. We'll just bring the toe down by the knee, arms coming out like wings to the side, shifting the hips over to the right, and then dropping that right leg down into a twist. Full body twist. Maybe we can gaze over the right shoulder, right hand keeping the shoulder connected to the floor. And here, just gliding into this position, resisting temptation to get stuck, sort of mentally with forcing a particular shape that we imagine, instead of just flowing with it. And returning to center. That right leg will stretch long on the floor and pause just for a moment, soaking up all the goodness from that side. And then firming through the right side, we'll reach that right foot long down as if we're standing onto a firm platform. And the left knee comes up and in towards the chest. And we'll use the hands to circle that hip and the hip joint as well, one direction. And then the other. And we can shift the pelvis to the left if that helps. To keep a long line in the spine as the left leg falls across the body into one more twist. Gliding on through these stretches. And then supporting our movement with the breath to create ease. We'll float that knee back into the center and down long on the floor, returning our pelvis to the neutral position. Yes, the legs can go long, although I am going to draw them to a bend one more time before we're done. First, let's just become aware of what's going on in both sides of the body. And then there's some options for this last pose besides Shavasana that we will take. Whatever feels easiest right now, or that we want to challenge ourselves to experience ease while doing. So options are whatever the imagination can come up with, but suggested would be a bridge pose to open up through the chest and feel that lightness and ease as the pelvis lifts up. And we can do a bind there with the hands behind the pelvis, or even a full wheel pose. So if you want to tuck the hands underneath, and then fly yourself up upside down. That is one option. And I'll reposition myself on the mat. We have arrived at our destination, wherever that may be. Lying flat onto the back, legs long, we can let them fall wide. Shoulders, so it can sort of snuggle underneath the heart center there. Arms falling nice and wide. And for just a few moments, we will soak up the benefits of all that effort, that effortless effort. Hopefully that ease and steadiness, or whatever our experience was just perfect. And here we also experience the mental side of that practice. If there's anything that our mind kind of gets stuck on that provides a little resistance, try to let that go, shake it off. Water off the duck's back, just let it be and then flow away with the breath. And bringing that same lightness and ease as we slowly re-enter our space from that beautiful silence. Gently moving fingers and toes, sense the air temperature on the body. The wind of the breath flowing and carrying us gently to roll onto our side. Nice compact fetal position or shell shape on our side. And then sending the top leg long along the floor, we'll walk the hands slowly up to our seat. Finding one last time an easy seat, the body floating above, hands on the knees. Gently flutter the eyelashes open. Bring our hands to our heart center and glide into the rest of the day as easily as we can. Namaste. So glad you are here. Hope you enjoyed gliding through this yoga practice with me. If so, please let me know down in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, and click that notification bell to make sure you're notified of future videos as they are released. Thanks so much for joining me. It means a lot, and have a wonderful day.